The stars looked different out here in the Kepler 442 system. Captain Jiho Kim stood on the bridge of the exploration vessel Perseverance, watching the distant sun cast its pale light across the empty void. The ship hummed quietly around him as 200 crew members went about their daily work. This was supposed to be a simple survey mission. Map the system. Check for resources. Look for signs of life. Nothing dangerous. Jiho had been captain for 3 years now. He was young for the job at 32, but he had earned his place through hard work and smart decisions. The crew trusted him. More importantly, they respected him. That trust would be tested today in ways none of them could imagine. Chief Engineer? Mina Park walked onto the bridge carrying a data pad. Her dark hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail, and her uniform showed the usual grease stains that marked a good engineer. She had been working on the ship longer than anyone else aboard. If something was wrong with the Perseverance, she would know it first. Captain, the long-range sensors are picking up something strange, Mina said, as she approached his chair. There is a large object about 2 million kilometers away. It looks like a ship, but the readings are all wrong. Jiho turned to face her. Wrong how? The metal composition does not match any known human designs. The power signatures are completely different too. If I had to guess, I would say it is alien technology. The bridge went quiet. Everyone had heard the stories about first contact with alien races. Some said it would be peaceful. Others warned it would mean war. Nobody really knew what would happen when humans finally met another intelligent species. Navigation specialist. Hannah Choi looked up from her console. Captain, should we investigate or report back to Earth first? Jiho considered the options. Earth was 47 light years away. By the time they could send a message and get orders back, months would have passed. If this really was first contact with aliens, the moment would be lost. Besides, the ship appeared to be drifting. It might be in distress. Take us closer, Jiho ordered. But keep our weapons ready and maintain full shields. Hannah, plot a course that keeps us at least 100,000 kilometers away. This is a trap. I want room to run. The Perseverance changed course slowly. The ship was not built for speed, but for long-range exploration. Her hull was thick and strong. Her engines were efficient rather than fast. Her weapons were defensive rather than aggressive. She was designed to survive in the unknown depths of space, not to fight wars. Weapons Officer Tywin Lee checked his systems twice. The ship carried plasma cannons and missile tubes, but nothing that could match a real warship. Captain, our weapons are ready, but if that thing is hostile, we are not going to win a straight fight. Then, we better hope it is not hostile, Jiho replied. As they got closer, the alien ship became clearer on the screens. It was massive, at least 3 times the size of the Perseverance. Its hull was dark gray with strange angular patterns that seemed to shift in the light. There were no obvious weapons, but that meant nothing. Alien technology might work in ways humans could not understand. I am reading minimal power signatures, reported Communications Officer Sun Ho Yoon. Life support. Appears to be functioning, but engines and weapon systems seem to be offline. It really does look like a derelict. Any response to our hails? Jiho asked. Nothing, Captain. I've tried all frequencies. Either they cannot hear us, or they are choosing not to respond. Jiho studied the alien vessel on the main screen. Something felt wrong about this situation, but he could not put his finger on what it was. The ship looked damaged, but not destroyed. Looked abandoned, but not ancient. It was like finding a car on the side of the road with the engine still warm. Mina, what is your opinion? He asked. The chief engineer studied her readings carefully. The power distribution is strange, Captain. For a ship that size, even minimal life support should require more energy. Either their technology is incredibly efficient, or they are running on emergency power only. Medical Officer Yoonji Song to the bridge. Came a voice over the intercom. Dr. Song was the ship's chief medical officer and xenobiologist. If anyone could make sense of alien life signs, it would be her. Dr. Song arrived quickly. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and a quick mind. She had joined the mission, hoping to discover new forms of life. Today, she might get her wish. Doctor, we need you to analyze these readings, Jiho said. Can you tell if there are living beings aboard that ship? Dr. Song studied the data for several minutes. The readings are inconclusive, Captain. I can detect what might be life signs, but the patterns are unlike anything in our databases. If there are aliens aboard, they are either very different from us, or they are in some kind of suspended state. Captain Hannah called out suddenly. I am reading massive energy signatures approaching from multiple directions. Something big is coming. The bridge erupted in activity. Alarms began sounding throughout the ship. Red lights flashed as the crew prepared for combat. But it was already too late. Space around the Perseverance began to shimmer and twist. By one enormous alien warships appeared from nowhere. They had been hiding using some kind of cloaking technology. The derelict ship had been bait, and the humans had taken it. The largest ship was easily 10 times the size of the Perseverance. Its hull was covered in weapon ports and shield generators. Smaller ships surrounded it like wolves around a wounded deer. The human exploration vessel was completely surrounded. I'll stop, Jeho ordered. Raise shields and prepare for evasive action. A new voice filled the bridge. It was speaking in heavily accented English through their communication system. Human vessel, you will surrender immediately. Lower your shields and prepare to be boarded. Resistance will result in the destruction of your ship and the death of your crew. The voice belonged to Admiral Dexkar of the Velkari Empire. He commanded the flagship Dominator and had been hunting human ships for months. The Velkari had been expanding their territory for centuries. They had conquered dozens of species and added their technology to their own. Now they had found humanity. This is Captain Jeho Kim of the human exploration vessel Perseverance, Jeho replied. We are on a peaceful mission. We mean no harm to you or your people. Your intentions are irrelevant, Dexkar responded. You have entered Velkari space without permission. Your ship and crew now belong to the Empire. You will serve as slaves, or you will die. Jeho looked around the bridge at his crew. Every face showed the same determination he felt. They were explorers, not soldiers, but they were still human. And humans did not surrender without a fight. Negative, Jeho said firmly. We are free beings, and we will remain free.
If you want our
ship, you will have to take it. The alien admiral laughed. It was a cold sound that chilled everyone who heard it. So be it. You have chosen death over slavery? How noble, how foolish. The Velkari fleet opened fire. Blue beams of energy lanced out from the alien ships. They were not trying to destroy the Perseverance. They were using ion weapons designed to disable rather than kill. The beams struck the human ship's shields and began draining them rapidly. Shields down to 60%, Taiwan reported. These weapons are designed to overload our systems. Return fire, Jeho ordered. The Perseverance's plasma cannon spat angry red bolts at the nearest alien ship. The shots struck its shields and dissipated harmlessly. The alien vessel was barely scratched. Our weapons are having no effect, Taiwan said. Their shields are too strong. More ion beams struck the ship. The lights flickered as power systems began to fail. The bridge instruments started showing error messages as electronic systems overloaded. Captain Mina called out over the intercom. From engineering, I am losing power to the main engines. The ion bombardment is causing cascade failures throughout the ship. Jeho gripped his chair as the ship shuddered under the alien assault. This was not a battle. This was an execution. The Velkari were slowly and methodically destroying every system on the Perseverance. Shields down to 20%, Taiwan reported. We cannot take much more of this. Emergency power to shields, Jeho ordered. Divert everything we have, but it was too late.
Oh.
The final ion barrage struck the ship like a hammer blow. Every light on the bridge went out. The constant hum of the engines died. The artificial gravity fluctuated wildly before emergency systems kicked in. The Perseverance drifted in space, completely helpless. Her engines were dead. Her weapons were offline. Her shields were gone. Only emergency life support kept the crew alive. In the darkness, Admiral Vexkar's voice echoed through the ship one final time. Your ship is disabled, humans. You are now prisoners of the Velkari Empire. We will board your vessel shortly. Do not resist, and your deaths will be quick. In the emergency lighting of the bridge, Captain Ji-ho Kim looked at his crew. They had been outgunned and outmaneuvered. Their ship was crippled, and their situation seemed hopeless. But they were still alive and they were still human. The real fight was just beginning. The emergency lighting cast long shadows through the corridors of the Perseverance. Chief Engineer Mina Park moved carefully through the darkened ship, carrying a portable scanner and a toolkit. Behind her followed a team of 6 engineers, all wearing emergency breathing gear. The ship felt dead around them. No engine vibrations, no air circulation sounds, only the distant hum of backup life support systems. Engineering team to bridge. Mina spoke into her radio, beginning damage assessment on Deck 7. So far, everything looks worse than we thought. Captain Ji-ho Kim's voice crackled back through the static-filled communication system. Report when you have something, Mina. We need to know what we are working with. Mina and her team reached the main engineering section. The massive fusion reactors that normally powered the ship stood silent and cold. Control panels that should have been bright with status lights were completely dark. She ran her scanner over the primary power coupling and shook her head. The ion bombardment fried every major system, she told her team. The fusion reactors are offline. The quantum drive is completely destroyed. Even the backup generators are damaged beyond repair. Engineer Kyung-Soo Han looked up from where he was examining a power distribution panel. Chief, what about the antimatter storage tanks? Are they secure? Mina checked her readings carefully. The ship carried 50 tons of antimatter fuel for the quantum drive. If those containment fields failed, everyone would die instantly. The magnetic containment is holding, but just barely. We are running on emergency power only. If we lose that, the antimatter will breach containment. The team worked for 2 hours checking every system they could reach. The news got worse with each report. Life support would last maybe 3 days. The water recycling system was damaged. Food storage areas were sealed behind blast doors that would not open without main power. Communications. Officer Sun Ho-yoon was having his own problems. On the bridge, he had managed to jury-rig a long-range transmitter using power from the emergency batteries. After an hour of work, he finally established contact with the nearest human colony. This is the exploration vessel Perseverance calling New Busan Colony, Sun Ho transmitted. We are under attack by hostile alien forces. Request immediate assistance. Reply came back 20 minutes later. Perseverance, this is New Busan Command. We received your distress signal. The nearest military vessels are 3 weeks away at maximum speed. Can you maintain your position until then? Sun Ho looked at Captain Kim. 3 weeks might as well be 3 years. They would all be dead or captured long before help arrived. Negative. New Busan Sun Ho replied, we do not have 3 weeks. The hostile forces are preparing to board our vessel. We are on our own. Medical officer Dr. Yoon Ji-song was treating the wounded in the ship's medical bay. 12 crew members had been injured when the ion weapons overloaded various systems throughout the ship.
Oh.
Most had burns from electrical fires or cuts from flying debris. Nothing life-threatening, but she was working with limited supplies and no main power. Doctor called Nurse Jie Bei from across the medical bay. We have a problem with the surgical equipment. Without main power, we cannot operate the advanced medical systems. Dr. Song finished bandaging a burn on Engineer Wujian Park's arm. We will have to make do with basic supplies. Get me the emergency medical kit and set up the portable surgical unit. If someone needs serious treatment, we will have to improvise. Security Chief Dong Yun Kong was organizing the crew for potential boarding actions. He had 40 security personnel, but they were not soldiers. They were trained to handle emergencies and unruly passengers, not to fight alien warriors. Listen up, everyone. Dong Yun addressed his security team in the main cargo bay. We do not know what these aliens look like or how they fight, but we know they are coming aboard soon. Our job is to protect the non-combat personnel and delay the enemy as long as possible. The security team checked their weapons. Plasma pistols and shock batons. Equipment designed for policing, not warfare. Against alien soldiers with advanced technology, they would not stand much of a chance. 2 hours after the attack, Captain Kim called a meeting of all senior officers in the emergency command center. It was a small room behind the main bridge designed to function during emergencies. Battery-powered lights provided dim illumination, while a single computer terminal displayed ship status information. "Report," Kim said as his officers gathered around the small table. Mina spoke first. "Captain, the ship is crippled beyond repair. Main engines are destroyed. Fusion reactors cannot be restarted. We have emergency power for maybe 18 hours. Before life support fails, weapons and shields are completely offline," added Taiwan. "Even if we had power, the control systems are fried. We cannot fight back." Dr. Song gave her medical report. 12 injured but no deaths so far. "However, without main power, I cannot treat serious injuries. We also have limited medical supplies," Sunho reported on communications. "I managed to contact New Busan Colony. Help is 3 weeks away. We are on our own, Captain." Finally, Dong Yun gave his security assessment. "My people are ready to resist boarding, but we are not equipped for serious combat. We can slow them down, but we cannot stop them." Kim looked around the table at his officers. These were good people, smart people. They had followed him across the galaxy to explore the unknown. Now, they were trapped and facing an enemy that seemed impossible to defeat. "Options," Kim said simply. "We could surrender," suggested Dr. Song quietly. "Maybe if we cooperate, they will spare the crew." "The alien admiral already told us we would be slaves," Taiwan replied. "That is not acceptable." "We could try to escape," offered Hannah. "The navigation systems might still work on emergency power." Mina shook her head. "Without main engines, we are not going anywhere. The aliens would catch us easily." The room fell silent. Everyone was thinking the same thing. They were trapped on a dead ship facing an enemy that wanted to enslave them. The situation seemed hopeless. "What about the antimatter?" Kim said suddenly. Everyone looked at him. "Captain?" Mina asked. "You said we have 50 tons of antimatter fuel. What if we use it as a weapon instead of fuel?" The chief engineer considered this carefully. "Captain, that much antimatter could destroy this entire area of space, but we have no way to deliver it. Our missiles are offline, and even if they worked, the aliens would shoot them down." "What if we do not deliver it?" Kim said. "What if we turn the entire ship into a weapon?" The room went quiet again. Everyone understood what the captain was suggesting. It would be suicide, but it might take the alien fleet with them. Captain Dr. Song said slowly, "That would kill everyone aboard. All 200 crew members." "We are already dead," Kim replied. "The question is whether we die as slaves or as free humans who fought back." Physicist Yunaim had been quiet during the meeting, but now she spoke up. "Captain, if we are going to consider this option, we need to think bigger. 50 tons of antimatter properly used could do more than just destroy the alien ships around us." "What do you mean?" Kim asked. "The aliens are not just here to capture us. They are part of an invasion force. Our long-range sensors detected a massive fleet heading toward New Busan Colony. 12 million people, Captain." The weight of that number settled on everyone in the room. This was not just about the crew of the Perseverance anymore. This was about protecting humanity itself. "If we are going to sacrifice ourselves," Yuna continued, "we should make it count. With the right modifications, we could turn this ship into something that could stop the entire invasion." Mina was already running calculations in her head. "We would need to rebuild the magnetic containment system, reroute all remaining power, turn the ship's hull into a giant magnetic accelerator." "How long would that take?" Kim asked. "Working around the clock with the entire crew? Maybe 60 hours? But Captain, that assumes the aliens give us that much time." Kim looked around the table one more time. "I am not ordering anyone to do this. This is volunteer only. Anyone who wants to try to surrender or escape in the life pods can do so now." Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. These were explorers and scientists, not soldiers. But they were human. Humans did not abandon their own. "Then we have work to do," Kim said. "Mina, start organizing the engineering teams. Yuna, begin working on the technical specifications. Everyone else prepare the crew. We are going to build something that has never been built before." "What exactly are we building, Captain?" asked Taewon. Kim looked out through the small window at the alien ship surrounding them. In the distance, he could see the gas giant Kepler 4, for to be with its massive gravitational field, An idea was forming in his mind, a terrible and beautiful idea. "We are going to build a planet killer," he said quietly, "and we are going to use it too. End this invasion before it begins." Outside the ship, the Velkari fleet waited patiently. Admiral Vexkar was in no hurry. The humans were trapped and helpless. He would board their vessel when he was ready and add their technology to the Empire's collection. He had no idea that 200 humans were about to begin the most ambitious and dangerous engineering project in the history of their species. He had no idea that his moment of victory was about to become humanity's finest hour. The real battle was just beginning. The corridors of the Perseverance buzzed with activity despite the emergency lighting and dead main systems. Captain Ji-ho Kim had divided the crew into work teams, and every person aboard had a job to do. Some worked on stripping components from damaged systems. Others fabricated new parts using the ship's industrial machines. The entire vessel had become a giant workshop with one impossible goal. Chief Engineer Mina Park stood in the main cargo bay studying blueprints on a portable display. Around her, dozens of crew members worked with cutting torches and welding equipment. They were gutting the ship's interior and rebuilding it into something that had never existed before. Team 7 report, Mina called into her radio. "We have removed all the passenger quarters on Deck 5, came the reply from Engineer Kyung Soo-han. "The space is ready for the new magnetic coil assembly. Good work." Team 3, what is your status? "Finished stripping the recreational areas," reported Engineer Soman Lee. "All that metal is being processed into conductor coils." Mina nodded and made notes on her display. They were essentially rebuilding the Perseverance from the inside out. Every unnecessary system was being removed. Every piece of metal was being recycled. The ship was being transformed into a single massive weapon. The plan was incredibly complex. They would turn the entire ship's hull into a giant magnetic accelerator. The antimatter fuel would be placed in specially designed containment pods. Throughout the vessel, when activated, the magnetic field would compress and accelerate the antimatter, while simultaneously launching the ship forward at tremendous speed. Physicist Yuna Im worked tirelessly in what used to be the ship's library. She had converted the space into a calculation center, where she and 3 other scientists ran endless computations. The math had to be perfect. One mistake would kill everyone instantly. "Yuna, how are the trajectory calculations coming along?" asked navigation specialist Hannah Choi as she entered the makeshift laboratory. "We are making progress," Yuna replied, without looking up from her work. "The gas giant's gravitational field will amplify our acceleration, but the timing has to be exact. We get one chance at this." Hannah studied the orbital mechanics displayed on Yuna's screen. "What about the alien space station?" "Our target is heavily shielded. That is why we need the gravitational assist," Yuna explained. "By using the gas giant's gravity well, we can achieve velocities that will punch through any known shield technology. But we have to hit them at exactly the right angle." Meanwhile, in the ship's fabrication center, engineer Dong Juncha was working. On the most dangerous part of the project, he was building new antimatter containment pods that could be remotely detonated. The work required absolute precision. Even a tiny mistake would vaporize him and half the ship. "Containment field is stable," he reported to his assistant engineer Yuna Ru. "Beginning installation of the detonation trigger." "Field strength looks good," Yuna confirmed, as she monitored the magnetic readings. "Remember, we need these pods to hold together until the exact moment of impact." "I know," Dong Joan replied as he carefully adjusted the containment field generators. "We get one shot at this. The pods have to survive acceleration forces that would crush a normal ship." Across the vessel, medical officer Dr. Yoonji Song had converted the medical bay into a combination hospital and chemical laboratory. She was synthesizing drugs that would help the crew survive the incredible acceleration forces they would experience during the final attack. Doctor called Nurse G.A. Bay from across the room. "The stimulant compound is ready. How many doses do we need?" 200, Dr. Song replied. "Everyone aboard will need chemical assistance to stay conscious during the acceleration phase. Without these drugs, the GI forces will kill us before we reach the target." She worked carefully, measuring precise amounts of the drugs. Too little and crew members would pass out. Too much and their hearts would stop. The balance had to be perfect for the plan to work. Security Chief Dong-Yun Kong had perhaps the strangest job of all. He was responsible for watching the alien fleet and making sure their activities remained hidden. Every few hours, Valkyrie probe ships would scan the Perseverance looking for signs of life and activity. Alien probe approaching from Sector 7 called Tactical Officer Jawan Shin from his monitoring post. All teams prepare to go dark. Throughout the ship, work stopped instantly. Welding torches shut off. Machinery went silent. Crew members froze in place wherever they were. For 30 minutes, the ship had to appear completely dead and helpless. The Valkyrie probe completed its scan and moved away. Dong-Yun waited 5 minutes, then gave the all-clear signal. Immediately work resumed. Throughout the vessel, "How much longer can we keep this up?" asked Communications Officer Sun Ho-Yoon. "As long as we have to," Dong-Yun replied. "The aliens think we are defeated. That gives us the element of surprise." Captain Kim moved through the ship, checking on progress and encouraging the crew. He had not slept in 36 hours, but he refused to rest while his people were working so hard. In the engine room, he found a team led by engineer Min Seok Jung, installing the primary magnetic accelerator coils. "Captain, these coils will generate magnetic fields stronger than anything ever built by humans," Min Seok explained. "When we activate them, the entire ship will become a railgun." "Will they hold together under that kind of stress?" Kim asked. "Honestly, Captain, we do not know. We're in completely uncharted territory here. But the theoretical calculations say it should work." Kim nodded and moved on to the next work area. Everywhere he went, he saw the same thing. Exhausted crew members pushing themselves beyond their limits because they believed in what they were doing. They were not just building a weapon. They were making a statement about what humanity could accomplish when pushed to the breaking point in the former dining hall. Engineer Soyeon Kim was leading a team that was installing antimatter pods throughout the ship's superstructure. Each pod contained enough antimatter to power a small city. Together, they represented the most concentrated destructive force ever assembled by human hands. "Pod 17 is installed and tested," she reported. "Magnetic containment is holding steady." "Good," replied her assistant engineer Chanwoo Park. "Only 8 more pods to go. We are actually ahead of schedule." The work continued around the clock. Crew members took turns sleeping in 4-hour shifts. They ate emergency rations while they worked. Nobody complained. Everyone understood that they were part of something historic, 40-8 hours after the project began. Chief Engineer Mina Park called another status meeting. Senior officers gathered in the emergency command center, looking exhausted but determined, report Captain Kim said. "The magnetic accelerator system is 80% complete," Mina announced. "We have installed all the primary coils and most of the secondary systems. The antimatter pods are in place throughout the ship." Physicist Yuna Im gave her update. "The targeting calculations are finished. We've identified the optimal impact point on the alien space station. The trajectory will take us past the gas giant at maximum velocity." "How fast will we be going?" asked Weapons Officer Taiwan Lee. "At impact, we will be traveling at approximately 12% of light speed," Yuna replied. "The kinetic energy alone will be devastating even without the antimatter detonation." Dr. Song reported on medical preparations. "I have prepared stimulant doses for the entire crew. The drugs will help everyone survive the acceleration, but there will be side effects. Nausea, disorientation, possible hallucinations." "What about the aliens?" asked Security Chief Dong-Yun. "How long before they get suspicious?" "Their probe scans are becoming more frequent," Sun Ho reported. "I think they are preparing to board us soon. It's maybe 12 hours at most." Captain Kim looked around the table at his officers. They had accomplished something incredible in just 2 days. A civilian crew with no military training had built a weapon that could destroy an entire enemy fleet. "How much longer do we need?" he asked Mina. "Another 8 hours minimum. We still need to complete the power routing and test all systems." "This is not something we can rush, Captain. And we better hope the aliens give us that time," Kim replied. "If they try to board before we are ready, we will have to accelerate the timeline." Outside the ship, the Velkar fleet maintained its patient. Vigil Admiral Vexkar was reviewing plans for boarding the human vessel. His soldiers were eager to begin the capture operation. The humans had been quiet for too long. It was time to take their ship and add their crew to the Empire's slave population. He had no idea that inside the seemingly dead exploration vessel, 200 humans were putting the finishing touches on a weapon that would change the course of galactic history. He had no idea that his empire's expansion was about to come to a violent and permanent end. The Perseverance no longer looked like an exploration ship inside. Miles of new magnetic coils ran through every corridor. Antimatter pods were embedded. In the hull itself, the entire vessel had been transformed into a single massive projectile designed for one purpose: to show the galaxy that humanity would never surrender, and that human engineering could turn even defeat into victory. The countdown to launch had begun. Long-range sensors specialist Hyun-Woo Nam was monitoring deep space communications when he detected something that made his blood run cold. He had been tracking radio signals from the outer system for the past 6 hours as part of his regular duties. What he found changed everything. Captain Kim to the sensor station. Immediately, Hyun-Woo called over the ship's communication system. His voice carried an urgency that made everyone stop working. Captain Jiho Kim arrived within minutes, still wearing work clothes covered in metal shavings and grease stains. For the past 3 days, he had been working alongside his crew building their impossible weapon. Now something new had caught their attention. "What did you find, Hyun-Woo?" Kim asked, as he looked at the sensor displays. "The captain and I have been monitoring alien communications from their main fleet," Hyun-Woo explained. "They are not just here to capture us. There is a massive invasion force approaching New Busan Colony. The readings show at least 200 warships." Kim felt his heart sink. New Busan Colony was home to 12 million people. Men, women, and children who had left Earth to build new lives among the stars. The colony had minimal defenses. Against 200 alien warships, they would not stand a chance. "How long before the invasion fleet reaches New Busan?" Kim asked. 18 hours, Captain. Maybe less if they increase speed." Kim called an emergency meeting of all senior officers. Within 20 minutes, they were gathered in the command center looking grim and exhausted. The weight of what they had discovered settled on everyone in the room. "The situation has changed," Kim announced. "We are not just fighting for our own lives anymore. 12 million people are counting on us to stop this invasion." Chief Engineer Mina Park looked up from her technical reports. "Captain, our weapon is designed to destroy the ships around us. We do not have enough firepower to stop a fleet of 200 warships, and we need to think bigger," Kim replied. "What other targets could we hit that would cripple their entire operation?" Physicist Yuna Im studied the star charts displayed on the main screen. The Valkyrie had established a forward staging base on a massive space station orbiting the gas giant, Kepler 4 for 2b. From there, they were coordinating their invasion of human space. "Captain, what if we target their command center instead of just their ships?" Yuna suggested. "The space station controls their entire operation in this system." "How big is this station?" asked Weapons Officer Taiwan Lee. Massive, Hyun-Woo replied as he pulled up detailed sensor readings. "It is over 50 kilometers long and houses at least 1 million aliens. All their supplies, weapons, and command facilities are located there." Kim studied the readings carefully. The space station was indeed huge. It was more like a small city than a military base. Destroying it would cripple the Valkyrie presence in this entire region of space. "Could our weapon destroy something that large?" Kim asked. Yuna ran quick calculations on her portable computer. "With the gravitational assist from the gas giant, yes. But we would need to detonate all our antimatter at once. The explosion would be visible from light years away." "There is another problem," added navigation specialist Hannah Choi. "The space station is heavily defended. They have orbital defense, platforms, and shield generators. Even our weapon might not penetrate their defenses." Kim looked around the table at his officers. They had come so far in just 3 days. 200 civilians had built a weapon that could destroy an entire enemy fleet. But now they were facing an even greater challenge. "What if we do not try to penetrate their defenses?" Kim said slowly. "What if we use their own planet against them? Everyone stared at him. Captain, what do you mean? Mina asked. Space station orbits very close to the gas giant. What would happen if we disrupted that orbit? Yuna's eyes widened as she understood what Kim was suggesting. Captain, if we could create a gravitational cascade, it would destabilize the entire orbital system. The space station would be pulled into the gas giant along with everything else. In orbit, how would we create this cascade? Asked Taiwan. By detonating our antimatter at exactly the right point in space, Yuna explained. The explosion would create a temporary gravitational anomaly. If timed correctly, it would disrupt the delicate orbital mechanics that keep everything in balance. The room fell silent as everyone considered the implications. They were no longer talking about just destroying a fleet or even a space station. They were talking about creating a weapon that could disrupt the gravitational field of an entire planet. The explosion would have to be perfectly timed and positioned, Yuna continued. We would need to approach the gas giant at maximum velocity and detonate at the exact moment when our gravitational effect would be amplified by the planet's own gravity. How accurate do we need to be? Kim asked. Within a few kilometers and a few seconds, Yuna replied. Any deviation from the calculated trajectory and the cascade effect will not occur. Mina was already thinking about the engineering challenges. Captain, this would require us to completely rebuild our targeting system. The magnetic accelerator would need to be recalibrated for a completely different flight path. Well, how long would that take? Kim asked. At least 6 hours, Mina replied. But Captain, we are almost out of time. The aliens are getting suspicious. Our probe scans are coming every 30 minutes now, as if summoned by her words. Security Chief Dong Yun. Kong's voice came over the intercom. All teams go dark immediately. Major alien scan in progress. Throughout the ship, 200 people froze in place. Welding torches went silent. Machinery stopped. The Perseverance became as quiet as a tomb, while alien sensors swept through every compartment. The scan lasted longer than usual. 40 minutes passed before Dong Yun gave the all-clear signal. When work resumed, everyone knew they were running out of time. Captain Communications Officer Sun Ho Yoon reported, I am intercepting increased chatter from the alien fleet. I think they are preparing to board us within the next few hours. Kim made his decision. We implement the new plan. Mina, get your teams working on the targeting modifications. Yuna finalized the trajectory calculations. Everyone else continue with the original construction? Captain Dr. Yunji Song spoke up. If we are targeting the gas giant instead of just the local fleet, the acceleration forces will be much greater. I am not sure the crew can survive that kind of stress, even with the stimulant drugs. Then we better hope our engineering is perfect, Kim replied. Because this is our only chance to save New Busan Colony. The next 6 hours were a blur of frantic activity. Engineering teams worked to modify the magnetic accelerator, while the physics team recalculated every aspect of their flight path. The margin for error was essentially zero. Xenobiologist Dr. Minho Ju had been studying captured Velkari technology and communications. He provided crucial intelligence about their orbital defense systems and the layout of their space station. The Velkari rely heavily on automated systems, he reported to Kim. Their shields and weapons are controlled by central computers. If we can create enough electromagnetic interference, their defenses might fail. Will our antimatter explosion create that kind of interference? Kim asked. Definitely, Captain. The electromagnetic pulse will disable electronics for thousands of kilometers in every direction. As the work continued, Kim received regular updates from his department heads. The weapon was coming together, but time was running out fast. Alien probe scans were now coming every 15 minutes. It was clear that Admiral Vexkar was losing patience. Captain Mina reported the targeting modifications are complete. We are ready to test the new magnetic accelerator configuration. Do it, Kim ordered. The test firing lasted only 3 seconds, but it proved the system would work. The magnetic fields aligned perfectly. The acceleration vectors were correct. The Perseverance had been transformed from an exploration vessel into something unprecedented in human history. A planet killer. Yuna, what is our flight time to target? Kim asked. 17 minutes from launch to impact, the physicist replied. We will reach maximum velocity as we pass the gas giant. The gravitational assist will accelerate us to nearly 15% of light speed, and the cascade effect. If our calculations are correct, the gravitational disruption will begin immediately after detonation. The space station and everything in orbit will be pulled into the gas giant within 6 hours. Kim looked around at his senior staff. They had accomplished something that should have been impossible. A civilian crew with no military training had built a weapon that could destroy an entire alien invasion force. Captain Dong-Yoon called over the intercom. Alien boarding shuttles are launching. They will reach us in 1 hour. Are we ready? Kim asked Mina. As ready as we will ever be, Captain. All systems are installed and tested. The antimatter pods are armed and ready. Just need to load the stimulant drugs and prepare for launch. Kim nodded and activated the ship-wide communication system. All hands, this is the captain. In 1 hour, we will launch our attack on the alien invasion force. This is a one-way mission. We will not be coming home. But we will save 12 million people and show the galaxy that humanity will never surrender. Throughout the ship, 200 people prepared for their final mission. They had volunteered to die so that others might live. They had turned their disabled exploration vessel into a weapon that would change the course of galactic history. The Perseverance was ready to become legend. Outside the ship, alien boarding shuttles approached slowly. Admiral Vexkar was finally ready to claim his prize. He had no idea that his moment of triumph was about to become humanity's finest hour. The countdown to launch had begun. The alien boarding shuttles were only 15 minutes away when Captain Ji-ho Kim gave the final order. Throughout the Perseverance, 200 crew members took their positions for the last time. They had spent 72 hours transforming their exploration vessel into a weapon that had never existed before. Now it was time to test their impossible creation. All hands prepare for stimulant injection, announced Medical Officer Dr. Yoonji, song over the ship's communication system. The drugs will help you survive the acceleration, but expect severe side effects. Crew members throughout the ship pressed auto-injectors against their necks. The stimulant cocktail hit their bloodstreams immediately. Heart rates increased. Breathing became faster. Some people felt nauseous while others experienced strange visual effects. But everyone remained conscious. An alert Chief Engineer Mina Park was at the main control station in engineering. Around her, dozens of displays showed the status of their improvised weapon system. Magnetic coils throughout the ship glowed with barely contained energy. Antimatter pods hummed with deadly potential. Captain, all systems are ready, Mina reported. Magnetic accelerator is charged to full power. All antimatter containment fields are stable. We are go for launch. On the bridge, Captain Kim looked one last time at his senior officers. Navigation specialist Hannah Choi had calculated their final trajectory. Physicist Yu Nem had verified every equation 3 times. Weapons officer Taiwan Lee had armed all the antimatter pods for simultaneous detonation. Alien shuttles are now 10 minutes out, reported communications officer Sunho Yoon. Admiral Vexkar is demanding that we prepare for boarding. Kim activated the communication system and spoke directly to the alien commander. Admiral, this is Captain Kim. We are ready to discuss terms. Through the speakers came Vexkar's arrogant voice. There are no terms, human. You will surrender unconditionally and submit to Valkyrie authority. Prepare to be boarded. Understood, Admiral Kim replied calmly. We are powering down all systems and preparing for your arrival. What Vexkar could not see was that the Perseverance was doing exactly the opposite. Every system was running at maximum power. The magnetic accelerator was building energy for the most powerful launch in human history. Mina, begin the launch sequence, Kim ordered quietly. Throughout the ship, massive magnetic coils began to align. The entire hull of the Perseverance became a single, enormous railgun. Energy readings climbed. Beyond anything the ship was designed to handle. Warning alarms sounded as systems operated far past their safety limits. Magnetic field strength at 90%, Mina reported. All coils are aligned and ready. Security Chief Dong-Yoon Kong was monitoring the approaching alien shuttles. Captain, the boarding craft are 5 minutes away. If we do not launch soon, they will be too close to escape the blast. Let them come closer, Kim replied. We need them to think they have one right up until the last second. On the gas giant Kepler 4 to be the massive Valkyrie space station continued its slow orbit. Admiral Zorthkai commanded the station and controlled the entire invasion fleet from his command center. He was monitoring the boarding operation and looking forward to examining human technology. Report from the capture operation Zorthkai demanded from his communications officer. Admiral Vexkar reports the humans have surrendered. Boarding will commence in 3 minutes. The human vessel will be secured shortly. Zorthkai smiled with satisfaction. Another species had fallen to Valkyrie's superiority. Their technology would be analyzed, and their people would become slaves. It was the natural order of the galaxy. He had no idea that 200 humans were about to change that order forever. Magnetic field at full power, Mina announced. All systems ready for launch. Captain Kim looked around the bridge one final time. These people had followed him across the galaxy to explore the unknown. They were sacrificing their lives to protect humanity. He was proud to serve with them. Alien shuttles are 2 minutes away, Dong-Yun reported. All hands brace for acceleration, Kim announced over the ship's communication system. This is it, people. Make it count. Throughout the ship, crew members strapped themselves into emergency harnesses. The acceleration forces would be beyond anything a human body was designed to survive. Only the stimulant drugs and sheer determination would keep them alive long enough to complete their mission. Launch in 10 seconds, Mina called out. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, launched the Perseverance, exploded forward like a bullet fired from the universe's largest gun. Magnetic fields powerful enough to move mountains hurled the ship toward the gas giant at incredible speed. The acceleration forces hit the crew like a physical blow. Captain Kim felt his vision blur as G-forces tried to crush him into his chair. Around the bridge, his officers fought to remain conscious as their bodies experienced stresses beyond human endurance. But the stimulant drugs did their job. Everyone stayed awake. Acceleration nominal, Mina managed to gasp out as she struggled to read her instruments, magnetic systems holding together. The alien boarding shuttles were caught completely by surprise. One moment they were approaching a helpless human vessel. The next moment it had vanished in a burst of energy that lit up space for millions of kilometers. Admiral Vexkar stared in shock at his displays. What happened? Where did the human ship go? His sensor officer was equally confused. Admiral, the vessel has somehow achieved impossible velocity. It is heading directly toward the gas giant. Impossible, Vexkar snarled. Their ship was disabled. It had no engines, no weapons. Nevertheless, Admiral, they are traveling at 12% of light speed and accelerating. For the first time, Admiral Vexkar felt a touch of fear. The humans had done something that should not have been possible. They had turned their disabled ship into a projectile moving faster than any vessel in Valkyrie history. Aboard the Perseverance, the crew was experiencing the ride of their lives. The ship groaned and shook as it accelerated beyond its design limits. Hull plates cracked under the stress. Internal systems failed one by one. But the magnetic accelerator held together. Time to target 12 minutes, Hannah reported through gritted teeth. Trajectory is perfect. Antimatter pods are stable added. Engineer Soyeon Kim from her position. All detonation systems are armed and ready. As the ship approached the gas giant, its velocity continued to increase. The massive planet's gravity field grabbed the Perseverance and hurled it forward even faster. They were now traveling at nearly 15% of light speed. Valkyrie space station coming into range, announced Tactical Officer Jawan Shin. Their defense systems are powering up. On the space station, alarms were sounding throughout every level. Admiral Zorthkai rushed to his command center as his officers tried to understand what was happening. Admiral, there is a human vessel approaching at impossible speed, his tactical officer reported. Impact in 8 minutes. Activate all defense systems, Zorthkai ordered. Destroy that ship immediately. Massive orbital defense platforms turned their weapons toward the approaching human vessel. Energy beams lanced out across space, trying to intercept the Perseverance. But the ship was moving too fast. By the time the weapons fired, the target had already moved. Defense systems cannot acquire a lock, the tactical officer reported. and the vessel's moving too fast for our targeting computers. Captain Kim watched the alien space station grow larger on his screens. It was massive beyond imagination, home to over 1 million aliens and the command center for their entire invasion. In 6 minutes, it would be destroyed. All crew prepare for impact, Kim announced. It has been an honor serving with all of you. Throughout the ship, 200 humans prepared to die. They had volunteered for this mission knowing they would not survive, but they also knew their sacrifice would save 12 million people. On New Busan colony, impact in 2 minutes, Hannah announced. We are on target. The Perseverance was now a spear of light streaking through space. Its hull glowed white-hot from friction with cosmic dust. Systems throughout the ship were failing, but the antimatter pods remained stable. 30 seconds to impact, Mina called out. All antimatter pods armed and ready. Admiral Zorith Kai watched in horror as the human projectile approached his station. Nothing could move that fast. Nothing could generate that much kinetic energy. It was impossible, and yet it was happening. 10 seconds, Hannah announced. Captain Kim closed his eyes and thought about Earth, about the families they were saving, about the future of humanity among the stars. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, impact. The Perseverance struck the Valkyrie space station at 15% of light speed. The kinetic energy alone was devastating. 50 kilometers of alien architecture vanished in an instant, but that was only the beginning. Antimatter pods detonated in perfect sequence. 50 tons of antimatter met 50 tons of normal matter and converted entirely to energy. The explosion was brighter than the system's sun. The electromagnetic pulse disabled every electronic system for thousands of kilometers. But the real effect was gravitational. The massive energy release created a temporary distortion in space-time itself. The delicate orbital mechanics that kept the space station and its support facilities in stable orbit were disrupted. The gravitational cascade began immediately. Debris from the destroyed station was pulled into the gas giant's atmosphere. Smaller orbital facilities lost their stable orbits and began spiraling downward. Within hours, everything in orbit around Kepler 440b would be consumed by the planet's gravity well. The explosion was visible from other star systems. The Valkyrie invasion fleet approaching New Busan colony detected the energy burst and realized their command structure had been destroyed. Without orders and without supplies, they were forced to retreat. 12 million colonists were saved by the sacrifice of 200 explorers, who had turned their disabled ship into humanity's first planet killer. On New Busan colony, Admiral Seojin Kwan of the Human Defense Fleet stood before a memorial wall, bearing 200 names. The heroes of the Perseverance had proven that human ingenuity could overcome any obstacle. They had shown the galaxy that humanity would never surrender. "We came to explore the stars," Admiral Kwan said to the assembled crowd. "Instead, they saved us all. The Perseverance and her crew will be remembered as long as humans travel among the stars. They prove that we are not just explorers or scientists or engineers. We are survivors, and we will never give up." The memorial ceremony ended with a moment of silence for the crew that had sacrificed everything to protect humanity. Their names would be carved on monuments throughout human space. Their story would be told to children for generations. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Never underestimate human engineering. Never assume humans will surrender. And never disable a human ship unless you are prepared for the consequences. Because humans can turn any setback into an opportunity, any defeat into a victory, and any disabled ship into a planet killer.